her lips so numb she had difficulty forming the words. "He's an inmate," she added, "from Hawaii." No one offered her a cup of coffee to warm her hands, but the guard allowed her to remain indoors while he consulted his clipboard and called to check that her visitor's application had been approved. She rubbed her hands vigorously while she waited and quietly stamped her feet in a restrained little tap dance, hoping to warm up. She hadn't thought to bring gloves, wasn't sure she even owned a pair back in Hawaii. She'd certainly never needed any there. Eventually another guard arrived, bringing her visitor's badge, and took her down a hall through more locked doors to an unexpectedly spacious room. There, through a large window of thick glass embedded with chicken wire, a spectacular sunrise pushed away the night and began to stretch itself across the eastern sky. A prisoner in a blue jumpsuit awaited her as well.
"And the dawn comes up like thunder out of Idaho across the way,"
the prisoner quipped, jerking his head toward the window while raising his arms slightly so the guard who'd brought him to the room could remove his cuffs.
"You're the reporter they sent?"
he asked, rubbing his freed wrists.
"A teenager. I would have thought it's a lot bigger story than that. The Fortunato murder is the most famous homicide in Hawaii for, at least a quarter century? Your editor should have sent Scully."
Zoe remained unruffled. "Yes, I'm the one they sent. I'm not a teenager." She handed him her card. "Zoë Akona of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. Thank you for contacting us, Mr. Cushing. And you may have missed it, but it's safe to say the slasher murders are a bit more newsworthy in Honolulu right now than the Fortunato case. That's why they sent me, and not Mr. Scully. So, shall we sit?" Michael Cushing smirked, but he sat.
"So I'm finally getting out of prison,"
Cushing said with a laugh.
"For a crime I didn't commit. That's the big story. It's why I wrote to your paper."
Looking pleased with himself, he leaned his narrow metal chair back and clasped his hands behind his balding head. The guard had told Zoe that Cushing's blue jumpsuit signified low threat, even though he'd been convicted of 2 murders and an attempted 3rd. Low threat because he hadn't killed anyone with his own hands. He'd hired a hitman. Cushing looked much older than Zoe had expected, but he'd been incarcerated for 12 years since the mugshot the Hawaii police had provided her. Now he also sported a neatly trimmed beard, flecked with gray. Zoe hadn't brought a photographer. She'd planned to take his picture with her cell phone, if he'd agree. Her editor had said they might use it alongside the 2002 police photo, if she could get it. Sitting across from him at the metal table, the young journalist tried to suppress a smile of satisfaction. Zoe was only 23, a novice reporter, and jet-lagged after the long flight from Honolulu to Seattle. The tightly enclosed prison room smelled of stale sweat, which made her faintly nauseous. She'd been wearied by the prior day's bumpy ride in a small plane across the Cascades from Seattle, and now she was sleep-deprived as well, having set her alarm for 6 a.m. local time, meaning 3 a.m. back in Hawaii. But she recognized a good quote when she heard it. "Wait a minute," she pressed the prisoner. "You pleaded guilty, didn't you?"
"Yeah, I hired a guy to kill a woman with a baseball bat. Melanie Munu. He was supposed to kill a detective too, Kawika Wong. But he only batted .500. Anyway, I've paid my debt to society and all that."
Cushing tilted his chair forward again, banging the front legs on the floor, startling the guards, and leaned his bare forearms on the table, speaking earnestly now.
"What matters is that the hitman I hired, that unlucky bastard Rocco Preston, did not kill Ralph Fortunato, despite my being convicted for it."
Even better quotes, she thought. "But you pleaded guilty to all 3 crimes," she prompted, sounding skeptical, although she already knew the explanation. She'd interviewed Cushing's 2 prosecutors, both now retired, before she'd left Hawaii.
"Yes, because I had no choice. The prosecutors wouldn't budge, those assholes. All 3 or no deal."